the RACE9 Nascar series. We're here at the wonderful Watkins Glen circuit with an albeit not the most packed grid of all time, but we're set for a spectacular race. Anyway, we've got Joe Gordstitis on pole position from Jesus Chirinos. Pablo Lopez rounds out the top three. And, well, it's been a rollercoaster season so far with Jesus on the top of the standings, 77 points. But it's set to get a little bit better with this 45-lap race around the spectacular circuit. I'm here with Konstantin, so welcome to the stream, Konstantin. How are you doing?
Yeah, thank you very much. Welcome for me as well. It's going to be, despite the low number of drivers, I think it's going to be a quite exciting one for the lead. Was quite close between Joe Gordstitis and Chirinos in the qualifying, just merely 100th of a second, I think. And yeah, hopefully they'll give us a good show as we get underway already.
So it will be a rolling start. As you can see, we're on technically lap 0, the pace lap, the wonderful pace car up ahead, the Chevrolet.
Oh, we're missing someone.
Yes, we are missing someone. Someone must have had a few issues. I think that's Carlos having an issue there, and not Manuel Alvarez. It is Carlos in the number 17 car. I can see that on the race view timing, but Joe is leading us away nonetheless. It's going to be this race start that's crucial. He's no stranger to rolling starts, is it, Joe? He's one of the most experienced NASCAR drivers in the field. Of course, he doesn't live too far away from this track, he was telling me, before a race we did at this circuit in another league. He actually went and did a physical track walk, and which was very interesting indeed. We can see the lights ablaze on the top of the safety car as all the drivers warm their tyres ready to go. Of course, these tyres are not warmed in blankets. The drivers have to do all of that themselves, and someone getting it all wrong on the curb there. But when you're starting a race like this, Konstantin, how difficult is it to just get that tyre temperature, especially at this slow speed that the Chevy pace car is taking us right now?
Yeah, especially in NASCAR, where no tire blankets, of course, coming in, and it's always difficult to keep the heat in the tires. Oh, someone's going very far, but he's managed to keep it on track. If you start with no blankets, it's like basically you just try to get in as much heat as possible, which is never enough as a race car driver. We all know that. You can never have enough good temperature in your tires, but yeah, it is difficult, especially in these NASCAR cars, and only the best will definitely have some good success with that.
As Carlos is making his way to the end of the pit lane, I believe it will be a pit lane start for him. There he is, lining up, ready to go. Of course, that flag won't go green as the pace car rolls in, and we're ready to start. It's now in control of Joe as we wait for the start in this Watkins Glen Grand Prix, and there is lights out, and it is away we go. That's a brilliant start for the number 53 car, who's roaring all the way into the lead, perhaps into turn 1. Is he able to get it? I think he is. Really down the inside as well. Joe not quite able to fend off that move. I think he is actually not great braking zone. You can see Manuel Alvarez getting a little bit wrong in the back, and there's the number 7 having a huge issue. That's championship leader Jesus Chirinos. So it is Joe Gordstitis who leads this race in the number 99 FRA sim racing car from Pablo Lopez from Manuel Alvarez. So a change of podium on the first lap and a roaring start from the number 53 car, who almost got that lead into turn 1 as they headed the chicane for the first time. And Manuel is actually pretty close to that number 53 car. I think he might have a run out of this next corner. There they are, side by side. Manuel's just got the run, I think, heading down the inside for the next, or heading around the outside, sorry, for the next left-hander, sorry. And he has to seize that position slightly. He does a switch back to the inside. There's a little bit of a love tap there. These NASCARs have got very little air, and this is going to invite Jesus back into the fray, who's not quite able. They're wheel banging all over the place. Of course, there's not so much concentration on these NASCARs about racing etiquette. But there they are, their line of stern, and oh dear, all wrong from Manuel, who's off and going to try and keep out the barriers. I think he's just managed to do that, and it's going to invite the field all the way back through. So he's down to 4th in this contest of draft, pretty much. Joe, however, maintains the lead.
Yeah, it was a really surprisingly bad start, I have to say, from the championship leader, Jesus Junos, who's now trying to make up the positions and get back under the rear end of Joe Status ahead. Of course, Joe, as you said before, he's known for being a NASCAR pro, and he definitely knows how to throw the fort around the circuit. But you can see Jesus Junos already trying to line up a move once again to the inside of Lopez, and here we go. It looks like, Lopez into the grass. So that's basically position gifted. And Chinos just says, thank you very much. I take that.
You can see how on a knife edge these NASCARs are. Of course, not a lot of aero, so they have to really be rallied around this racetrack. And you can see the heavy, clumsy cars getting in the way of Pablo Lopez's charge, who's now really... Has he been able to save it? No, he's taken out Manuel as well. And they're both struggling for into the wall. And that's going to be terrible. You can see all that bodywork on driver's left, just absolutely clattered. Yellow flags in Sector 1, unsurprisingly. And I think Manuel's going to be struggling a little bit, perhaps having to make an early pit stop here. This is playing into the hands of Joe Gorstaitis, who's managed to get a 1.5 second lead, which is an age in NASCAR.
Yeah, but that means we also have a full course yellow, which means we're going to bring the field back together and have some laps behind the the pace car, as it's called in NASCAR, of course. And it's basically a reset after just 3 laps. But I think Lopez is able to keep it going. Yeah, he is. You can see it on the screen right now. So that's good news for him. A little bit of damage to the side, apparently. But drama at the very beginnings of the race already. And tell you what, the one celebrating this is Carlos Frau, because he's now back with the field for sure.
I was just about to say that, actually. Carlos Frau had a pit lane start, of course, having an issue on the formation lap, and there he is in that lovely yellow. I believe that's the Chevrolet, actually.
No, that's a Toyota Camry.
Oh, is it? Oh.
Yes, or it should be at least.
I'm not too read up on my different NASCAR manufacturers. It isn't quite up on my live timing screen here, but it's a lovely little car that actually looks quite magnificent. As
Thank you.
He's getting all the way back up, and he's going to be able to line up with the field, as we mentioned. And if I'm correct, it will be a 1 wide start. They won't be going back into 2 wide formation. And Joe Gostas is going to have to do it all again. He built up a nice little lead, and I believe he'll probably have the pace over the field here in that Ford. But we'll have to see.
Yeah, with these guys racing behind, it was absolutely easy for him to just sprint away a little bit and even take it easy. I think at this point he was not fully on anymore. But as you said, he now has to do it all again, as we have some lag going on. That's very interesting. Hope nobody was into the wall. As AMS is quite known for being a little bit laggy when someone hits the wall, but it looks like everyone was just fine. So who knows what the reason for that was. Anyways, back to racing. As you said, Joe has to do it all again in about 1 or 2 laps time. It's going to be very interesting to see, of course, as well, if Alvarez and Lopez head for the pits to get their damage repaired.
As I believe the pits would be closed by the game, unless you're taking emergency service. That's the rules in other American racing series. In any case, as you can see, scrambling to catch up back to the field are our bottom 3 in this race. And as we said, this has really worked out for Carlos Frau. He's now got a chance at perhaps the race win from that position down in position 5. Of course, there are only 5 people racing today, so anyone's really got a chance at this win. They'll have to get past Joe Gorstaitis, who's going to make that car pretty wide for the people behind him. And, the lights are still ablaze. There's even more lag, and I think that's just slight issues with the older game engine, as you can see the number 53 car into the pits, as we'd expect for emergency service. And that could lead us to a couple more laps of safety car. Of course, we'll know when the safety car's in, because the lights on top of that wonderful Chevrolet will be out, and that will signal to the drivers that you are now in control of the field.
Then again, we do have manual. We tend to use that because 45 laps on the yellows. Usually, if you have a packed field, we had that at Daytona 250, I think. Was it 250 or 500? I'm not entirely sure anymore. I'm sorry, don't quote me on that. As Lopez leaves his pit spot again. That we remove the yellow flags manually to keep more green flag get more green flag action in the race itself. So perhaps if Lopez is able to catch back up to the field, perhaps we can see already the field going under green at the end of this very lap. We'll see.
So there we go then. Call from race control that we will be going green at the end of this lap. And, well, all that tyre temperature that was built up over those 2 or 3 laps of green running is now very much out of the window as they line up double file. I apologise for saying that it was single file restart. That was...
It should be single file in theory. In theory.
Well, they don't look eager to go single file. That Jesus' car is being rather optimistic with his...
Yeah.
It's difficult to find the correct word for that particular thing. There you go. The pace car flies off into the distance as the field will quickly be under control of Joe Gorstaitis. Obviously, it will reel into the pits at the end of this lap. Lap 5 of 45. And I think Joe's going to have to manage this restart quite masterfully, as he did the green flag.
Lights on the safety car still on, so I'm not fully convinced that we go under green this time by. But no, okay, you're right, and here we go once again.
And the lights are off, and it is in control of our race leader, who's going to have to keep the charging championship leader behind him, and it is green. Emmanuel Alvarez looking very, very racy. Indeed, he's got the jump on Kronos, I believe, heading down into turn 1. Can he brake a little bit later? I think he can, and a mistake for the race leader. Joe Gorstaitis is going to invite Manuel to try and get back through. Alvarez not quite able to make that move, though. Joe stays in the race lead. And Manuel crucially able to pick up that second position from your championship leader, Kronos, who's going to have his championship lead slightly dented at the end of this one. You have to feel he's looking to make the move against the number 53 car. Actually looks very, very racy around the outside, not quite able to find the room there to make that move on that particular lap. And he's a little bit understeery on the apex of that first corner, not quite able to pick it up on the optimal racing line. And now we're going to wait to see if Carlos Frau can join the fray. Because I think the line is stern for the time being.
Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you, but it was indeed a cracking restart for Alvarez, and he made that work beautifully. I was kind of surprised that Gorstaitis kept the lead. It looked like he just got the power down and hammered it through the exit of turn 1. And here we are. Actually, I think Alvarez is a little bit stronger than everyone else in the last sector. At least it looks like it. And yeah, he's staying with Gorstaitis for the minute.
Fastest lap.
That's very little break. Sorry, but he nearly sailed into the back of Joe Gorstaitis ahead as I was just pricing him, but he kept it clean for the moment. So yeah, kudos to him for actually taking no damage again, as the fight for P3 is cracking on between number 53, Pablo Lopez, and number 7, Jesus Chirinos once again.
And fastest lap of the race from Joe is a 1:13.120. No one's quite been able to match that just yet, as around the outside goes the 53 car. He's outbroke a little bit by Kronos, and he goes off right through the grass. He's going to have to cede that position to Carlos Frau, I believe, as he does. Sportsman-like driving for sure from the number 53, as Carlos Frau, of course, in the number 17 CMP car. And this is going to be a little bit of a fight towards the back of the field, you have to feel.
Yeah, it's a very odd one to see. Everyone's not really making moves. Carlos Frau just spins it ahead, and that's the battle you just promised completely over immediately.
And, well, as is NASCAR, they're probably one of the most difficult cars to drive in all of racing throughout the world. Of course, they've not got the best brakes. They've not got, well, pretty much anything that you'd have in a normal car. Of course, you're having to manually heel and tow as well. I'm sure these drivers will be using sequential gearboxes. Perhaps not for some of our more fanatics towards the front of the field. They might still insist on the H pattern. But as you can see there, Carlos Frau finding out how difficult it is to drive these NASCARs, similarly to how Manuel Alvarez did, almost taking out Joe into the first corner. Not quite able to make that position yet, and Joe still maintains his race lead. A pretty whopping race lead, actually. 1.3 seconds he's got now. 1:14.0 that last lap for Manuel Alvarez, his fastest lap of the race, but not the fastest lap of the race. And in fact, Jesus Kronos is a little bit faster. He makes a little bit of a mistake, does Magnon. That's giving Joe that little bit more breathing space that he'll want.
I thought like it is very, as you said, a difficult cars, of course, to drive, and I never had the pleasure to take them around the street or road circuit, I shall say. So yeah, it's a very interesting to see what these guys are doing at the minute. It looks like Joe Gasteides has just found the very sweet spot of these cars in Automobilista, of course, to handle them around virtual Watkins Glen at the moment. It looks very stable, while everyone else is more or less, yeah, more or less, I shall say, all over the road apparently.
Well, you can see there Manuel Alvarez taking a few liberties on the track limits at turn one. Of course, NASCAR's got interesting track limits, actually. They've got different track limit rules to most of the other series that would probably be allowed in the real life racing series. Of course, these are NASCAR Cup cars. And, well, I think we should take this opportunity while there's not many battles happening on the field to tell you that this is actually a double header. Almost exactly after we finish this race, we'll be going straight over to Azeda Corsa and the GT3 Asia Championship, or the GT Asia Championship, I should say. Of course, with GT500 and GT cars, or GT300, I apologise. That's going to be a cracking race as well. And, well, I'm sure some of these drivers won't particularly care about that right now. So Alvarez is finding himself charged down by Krynos. That gap is down to 9/10, and it's going to be very difficult for Manuel to hold on to this position, you have to feel.
Yeah, as I said, I'm kind of surprised by Chinos. He was really close to Gasteides in the qualifying session, but he just kind of lost the edge at this point. Apparently, it's a little bit underwhelming to say, but I'm sure that he's going to try to stay with Alvarez, who's once again taking the track limits to the absolute limits of the track. Which, yeah, sorry, I apologize for that. Poor attempt of a joke, but anyways, aside from Alvarez going very wide out of turn one, I think Chinos is much faster at this point. Not fast enough for Gasteides. Oh, that's a very late braking maneuver. I should stop praising drivers at this point, I feel. Every time I do that, they tend to mess up for whatever reason.
Commentator's curse in full force there.
Yeah.
And I think Manuel Alvarez just got a little bit of oversteer, a little bit of a snap on the front. So you can see he's boxing this lap anyway, which means that, he said he was boxing this lap. I don't think he is anymore. Must have cancelled that pit stop. And, yeah, the little gear symbol in the top left-hand corner. And I think he's just struggling with the snap oversteer a little bit in that number 38 machine. Not quite got the setup as tuned in as some of the other drivers. But he's got a little bit of a buffer to the car behind right now. You can see 2.3 seconds to the car ahead. He's very much in clean air. And I think it's going to be... As he does it again, and that's going to be into the wall, I think. Not quite. Joe's made the same mistake. And, well, you can see something's happening at that turn one. They're just causing these cars to go wide, because I don't think that was intentional from either of them.
I'm not entirely sure. Compared to Chinos the lap before, when we were on board with Alvarez, I felt like it is actually beneficial to do that, to just go as wide as possible. Chinos into the wall, but he keeps it straight. That's good save from him. But he's beginning to struggle a lot, and once again another lock-up into the chicane as he jumps over these massive, gigantic curves and struggles as well into the next corner, which I already forgot the name of. I do apologize for that. But yeah, I think just Europeans trying to commentate on American series, I guess. Anyways, it's very interesting to see how the variety is into turn one, and it's a very interesting to see how that plans out. Let's see if they just do it again.
Of course, this is round 6 of the championship, and as we mentioned, Jesus Krynos is winning the championship so far quite convincingly, 77 points. The closest driver to him is Sven Gillerhood, who's not racing today, with 61 points. And, well, our current race leader is all the way down. I can't even see him on the order. He's in P5, actually, with 31 points. So I don't think Jesus is going to be particularly worried about the current result. But I think he'll still be a little bit frustrated that he's only able to make it to P3 here. As you can see, they're all struggling with the balance of the car a little bit. Of course, next week, I believe, we'll be back to a speedway. As... there we go. We're meant to be going to the road course today at Charlotte Motor Speedway, and I think next week we'll be going to Talladega. It's one of the better speedways on the NASCAR calendar in real life.
Yeah, definitely. I was actually trying to get a replacement for myself, so someone else commentates in NASCAR, so I can actually drive at Talladega. Was really looking forward to that race, but let's see if these plans work out. Surely gonna try to bring some practice in, and if I'm able to race, have a good one, as literally everyone else who's been there, hopefully.
Of course, these drivers having to wrestle these wonderful 5.9 litre V8 engines. As, well, Krynos is a little bit closer to Manuel than he has been on any other lap so far. He's not quite going to have the run this lap, you have to feel, but they've both managed to keep it clean through turn 1, further proving our theory that there was a little bit of a mistake. As you can see, the back end just floating away from both these drivers through turn 2. The undulation of this racetrack are not playing into their favour too much, as now he is very, very close indeed. He's got the slipstream, and I think he might have a little run for an optimistic move heading into the chicane.
Not messing up this time, by. Sorry. Go ahead.
Well, he's not quite able to make it. He's not close enough, but he is inching ever closer. The gap is 0.4 of a second. And, well, that's getting closer and closer every single straight. These NASCARs punched that hole in the air quite effectively as he makes a little bit of a mistake onto the grass, does the championship leader. And, well, that's going to quell his attack so far. Breaks a lot later than Alvarez, though. And, perhaps going to sacrifice his exit with the extra entry speed he had to carry through the corner. And this battle's just ebbing and flowing throughout this racetrack.
Yeah, I feel like Chiras is struggling on the curbs quite a lot, and especially in the toe of Alvarez just ahead of him. He's always getting sucked out to the edge of the racetrack, even just a little bit too much for his liking, I assume, and that catches him out to be stuck on the curbs. So slightly. As Alvarez goes into the wall, we see here once again, and yeah, that's certainly not going to help him, does it?
Definitely not. And you have to feel that Krynos is just perhaps running a little too stiff suspension settings. I couldn't get my words out there as we were watching them go through the chicane. But yeah, you have to feel that he's running a little bit stiff suspension settings. Of course, softer would mean that he can take the curbs a lot nicer. And, I don't think that's quite working for him today. As you can see, his car's just being a little bit unsettled on these exit curbs, and definitely something he'll try to avoid, you imagine, but it's very difficult to avoid curbs in these NASCARs. They're very understeery and oversteery. They're very unpredictable to drive. As you can see, case in point, Manuel Alvarez there getting it all wrong on that very aggressive exit curb out of the fast right-hander.
Yeah, I have to say, though, the setups are locked for all these cars, and they have shared physics, so that means they all have the same physics values, so they should at least drive the same. Of course, manufacturers are there, but they are purely cosmetic, so it really comes down to the driver. And speaking of it comes down to the driver, Jogas Titus is just managing that absolutely perfectly. It's already, nearly 6 seconds ahead of the battle that we've been watching on for the last few laps.
Perfect for Titus. He is someone who the suspension settings, I suppose, are really working for. Of course, the issue with the fixed setup series is that some drivers will just naturally be suited to the setup more than others, everyone having their own unique driving style. It's very rare you find someone who's completely textbook, especially in the world of sim racing where most people are self-taught. It's only in recent years that you've started seeing coaches in sim racing, and they're very rare in this particular level of competition indeed, as most of the drivers here are doing it out of pure passion for the sport. And you can see Joe is just in control of that car a little bit more. He looks extra smooth on the exit of these corners. The back end isn't quite as floaty. Well, he looks very much in control of that number 17 machine, I believe it is, for Joe.
17. No, that is Carlos Frau. Number 7.
Yes,
I think 97. That's his number. If I'm not completely wrong.
That makes sense. I apologise. The RACE9 crashed. So as I committed to looking at his number, the RACE9 didn't quite come up, so I couldn't see what number he was. Number 99. There we go.
99. Okay, sorry. So we both got it wrong. Okay,
yes.
Cool.
Brilliant start.
Well, that was closer.
Well, yes, exactly. You were closer. So there we go. We both got the 7, though. But, well, Joe, 7 seconds now. He's eking out that gap quite nicely. And I think at this stage, a full course yellow would be a little bit disappointing for the American. Of course, as we mentioned, quite local to this circuit. There's into the pits Alvarez. He definitely felt that those tyres are enough, and he's back in for, I imagine, a splash of fuel and a new set of tyres. Not going to do much for Godstitis, who's looking pretty comfortable right now where he is. And I think this is time where he can save those tyres, save those fuel. And you'll have to enlighten us, Konstantin. I wasn't able to find the rulebook. Do these drivers have to make a mandatory pit stop?
No, they don't. NASCAR, of course, completely free, just as it should be in real, or as it's supposed to be in real life, or I think that is. As Gus has just lost a little bit of time there in this lap, I think, to Ginos, who's apparently trying to bounce back, but we'll see how that works out. But yeah, no, no mandatory pit stop for these guys to do, but I think it's not possible to do without a pit stop over the course of 45 laps.
So there's two scenarios that could be playing out right now. Either Gudstaitis has just kind of backed off a little bit. He knows he doesn't have to push and he can just save those tyres and that extra bit of fuel. Or Chirinos has lost that dirty air of Alvarez ahead and is now able to really push on in the clean air and try and make up ground on number 99 car in the lead. We'll have to see how that works. Of course, as we mentioned, the body language of the number 99 looks a lot better than that number 7 car of our championship leader, who really doesn't seem to be too strong on these road courses. Of course, he did win one of the races. He won round 2, actually. Round 2 was at California Speedway. So perhaps the king of the ovals, but not quite the king of these road courses, as that is our race leader into the pits, followed immediately by the P2 car.
And there's also Carlos Frau in the background coming into the pits as well. But of course, the fight is on for these two guys here as Joe Gustaitis leaves the pit lane, the pit spot, I shall say. And Ginos is now leaving as well. So the order remains the same, of course. But I think Joe Gustaitis had quite a faster pit stop as well. So the gaps should have increased even further from what I could see with my eyes, which is not very convincing, is it?
Of course, being in the lead, perhaps Joe didn't consume as much fuel on that particular stint as all the other drivers, which means, of course, he's naturally got a shorter pit stop as there's less fuel to put into the car. So, as you can see, this is where the battle really gets hot for the lead. He's come out into nice and clean air, has Joe, and Pablo Lopez is still yet to stop.
It's very interesting. Lopez once again playing the "I stay out as long as I can" card. He tends to do that in pretty much every race he's ever entered, or at least I've seen him racing in. It's a very interesting tactic, and we'll see how that's going to play out in the end.
And it'll be interesting to see whether this shorter stop was a strategic call or a call out of necessity for Gudstaitis. As obviously, in an ideal world, you'd want to be able to do it on a one-stop with exactly halfway through the race. And we're approaching on the halfway mark in this race already. We're on about lap 18, starting lap 19 of 45.
Sorry, go ahead.
I think that's going to be interesting to see how that plays out. If they are going to have to make another in this particular race or not. I think Joe will have it all calculated in his head, needless to say.
They actually, you're right. They have to do another pit stop. Just judged by the way they've been going, 18 laps times 2 doesn't make up for 45, does it? But Pablo Lopez got a free pit stop on the safety car we had just ahead, so perhaps he's gonna pit for one more time and actually be out in the lead by causing that safety car. That would be quite a turn of events, wouldn't it? Always given that he's able to defend from Gustaitis right behind him.
Of course, if we had another caution period, that would mean that all the drivers can kind of save fuel, kind of coast through the corners. And that is something that would be an interesting technique to see the drivers use. Of course, these NASCAR have got pretty powerful clutches. So if they employ any fuel-saving strategies such as the clutch and coast, of course, clutch and coast working because all of the power to the motor is stopped whilst you're under the clutch. Therefore, you save fuel. It's much more powerful than lift and coast, though also much more difficult to pull off, as that's all wrong for the number 7 car. Is he able to save it? He's definitely flat-spotted his tyres. Of course, in Automobilista, the flat spots go after a few laps, but that's definitely going to hamper his ability to continue in this the championship lead, in this race, in terms of fighting Gudstaitis.
Sorry, I always tend to follow you into words. I'm sorry about that. I definitely don't mean to do that. I'm sorry. Anyways, I was noticing that he was falling back behind Carlos Frau even, and I think we just missed another spin from him that led to that spin in the chicane. But what I was laughing about when you say flat spots tend to go away in Automobilista, they don't. They don't. From my experience, I had a WEC race, I think in 2019. It was 90 minutes of Silverstone. I was quite in the lead in GTE class, and had a massive lockup after about 20 minutes or so. Came in for the pits, was all good. Went out, first corner, another massive lockup, and 45 minutes of rattling, and everyone in the team speak just shouting at me for turning my goddamn microphone off because it was so loud and so powerful. But hey, I managed to hang on and win in the end. So yeah, lucky me, I guess. But yeah.
Because in my experience driving a few of the Formula 1 in this game, if you get a flat spot, it kind of just goes away after a few laps.
Okay.
But I suppose it must depend on the car then.
Yeah, must be. But of course, this is a mod car, not racer stock content. So perhaps it's just going to be a little bit different. But we'll see. Oh, that's
another spin. And he's having a really tough time of it. Is our championship leader into the... And, well, he's going to be able to keep it going. But that's a massive, massive blow for Jesus Krynos, who's now going to drop all the way back. He's in P5, and it looks like he's going to stay there. What a terrible, torrid time for the championship leader. He's into the pits. He's clearly had a flat spot, and he's going to have to change that.
Well, Lopez finally coming in from the lead as well. So we're going to see the leader pitting as well at this very moment. And he wouldn't make it to the 45 lap mark either. So, or is he? No, he's not. So he definitely has to do another pit stop as well. So we should be back to the natural order after this sequence of pit stops.
But of course, if there is a safety car, that means that Lopez will be much more likely to get to the end of the race than all the other drivers who might have to come in for a quick splash and dash. As there's yellow flags out, I wonder who that's for. As well, there's only 3 people it could be for, and we'll have to see there. I can't quite see it on the race view. As it is, it's Manuel Alvarez who's into the wall, and that car is stopped. And is he able to get it back going? I think he's definitely stuck. And oh dear, losing time, and on the grass. Those cars are not designed to be rallied around. And is he able to
manage to get there?
Oh dear,
nice.
Oh yeah, we've got a replay. Lovely. He's made that mistake. Track limits into the wall really heavily, and he's bounced over the wall into the advertising boards. He'll be very, very pleased that they aren't actually modelled in a game with hitboxes. But oh dear, he's made an absolutely torrid time with it into the floor. And that's a quite spectacular crash to watch indeed. As I don't think he'll be able to get it back going again, as I don't think these are live pictures. These are live pictures, however, and he's still off. He's at the marshal post, and I think this might be day over for Manuel Alvarez. Absolutely bitter disappointment, as he was going along so nicely throughout the entirety of this race. And, well, turn 1 has struck again.
It's very, very. You don't see that very often, even in AMS, do you? It's a very, very interesting accident as it goes completely into the woods now. But there are some pockets on this racetrack where you can try to get back in, unless they are sealed off with invisible walls. Let's hope that he can find some. And yeah, that's AMS once again trying to bring him back to the circuit, but it doesn't work. So yeah. Oh, there's another spin. That is Carlos Frau in turn 1. Sorry, you were about to say something.
I was going to say, I'm surprised we haven't seen the full course caution, unless that is it now.
Yeah, that is, yeah.
So there it is. There's the safety car. And crucially, as I apologise to cut you off there, Constantine, that means Pablo Lopez is able to save a couple of laps of fuel, perhaps. And that could see him to the end of this race where all the other drivers will have to make another stop.
That is a very good spot indeed. It depends, of course, on how long this pit stop, this full course yellow is, and the laps behind the pace car. But yeah, that should be good news for Lopez indeed, and perhaps another stop safe, as you said. Let's see. It has Manuel Alvarez. Oh, he's back into the pits, and that's unfortunately our first and hopefully last retirement, I'm afraid. But yeah, perhaps he found himself too deep into the woods to be back to find the way back on track.
On the live timing, it's actually given us status as disqualification for Manuel Alvarez.
Ooh.
As whether that was a disqualification for a rule infringement or just a disqualification out of pure mercy from the race directors. But needless to say, I think he'll be bitterly disappointed at that, as he was one of the drivers going along very, very nicely. Joe Gorstaitis, in the lead of the race, though, had pulled out a 26-second gap, and it's all evaporated at the click of a button. And no one will be more disappointed at that than him. Though, judging by his pace so far in this race, I think he might be able to keep that lead going quite nicely. And he said to me before the race he was actually feeling quite good about how this race was going to turn out, and praying to the gods that he didn't crash. But he's very achieved, is Joe Gorstaitis. Of course, has driven many a Daytona 500 throughout various different sim racing competitions. Has done a lot of R Factor 2 endurance. For me, actually, he's a very talented driver in that he'll get a handle of anything you give him to drive soon enough. And, well, he's in his favourite kind of racing discipline right now. And, well, he's come straight, actually, from a Formula E race in another league.
Oh.
But, there you go, little fact for you. So this will be, well, 3 o'clock this afternoon, that race was. So this will be him doing of many hours in the car in this particular day. And busy indeed, and he'll look like he'll pick up a race win here, though it's not over yet, as that gap has evaporated and all that work has gone.
Tell you what, good news for Jesus Juniors though, because he was falling down after his torrid second stint, and we just saw him going to the pits ahead of Pablo Lopez, and he's now a lap down. Third car in queue, the blue and black Ford right there, Mustang. He's going to be a lucky dog, I assume, and he's going to lap himself back, unless that doesn't count for road circuits, but I would be surprised if AMS could differentiate that. Yeah, it's trying to keep the tires warm, so let's see what's going to happen at any moment in time.
Apologise to cut you off there again. I think if Gorstaitis was concerned about having to, or his mileage towards the end of the race, he would have come into the box, and he hasn't. So I think he's not particularly concerned about making it to the end of this race, as that's at least some food for thought for the viewers watching today. And he's backing up the pack quite a lot, making sure they don't get any more tyre temperature than he is.
Yeah, of course, you can still wave a little bit, but we've seen these cars being quite tricky to drive quite often today already. And yeah, if you do it too much, you just gonna end up in the barrier, especially on a circuit like this. So yeah, I think we're gonna see another lap behind the pace car, but after that we should be back to green flag racing.
And of course, one of the biggest things, especially in endurance racing, is the saying that cautions breed cautions. And I fear that might be the case now. The field had kind of not bunched up particularly well. And obviously there was loads of gaps and things like that. Whereas now, as we see number 7 car into the pit, as maybe everyone else apart from Joe is concerned about the mileage towards the end of this race. And, well, this could be the unravelling of Joe's dominant performance. Lights to flag so far, he's led every single lap, apart from the ones where Lopez has been out on pit stop strategy. And, well, this could be a spanner in the works for the Americans' dominant drive in that number 99 FRA car. Of course, the Swedish team, with an American in the car.
Yeah, I was just about to say that before, but I actually forgot. Joe Gorstaitis is, of course, the only American in the whole field, if I'm not completely wrong. He has to be natural in these cars, doesn't he?
Yes, the homeboy NASCAR favourite.
Home soil as well.
Quite literally home soil, as we said. He's told us that he lives rather local to the.
So if you're gonna zoom out enough, you're gonna see his house. Okay.
As well, he took pole position at Charlotte Motor Speedway, lost out to Jesus Krynos in the C4's racing car, of course, the Ford, both of them being in Fords, actually. And Joe is yet to pick up a win this season. And, well, I'm sure he'll be hungry for that more than ever.
Has Toyota won a race already? Oh, yeah, the first one, of course, with Richard Waters at the wheel. where Joe Gostaitis just finished in second at the Daytona 250 we just held in February, or was it March? I think it was in
20th of
February.
February.
See? I remember something.
So, of course, to remind the viewers of the scoring system, is 25 points for a win, 20 points for second, and 16 points for third. It's slightly different to the Formula One qualifying system that all the Europeans will be used to, but it leads to actually closer racing between first and second position, as second position can pull a lot of points on first. And, well, the fastest lap on the server ever was by Carlos Frau, 1:12.0. As the pace car is in, and it's in Joe's hands now to get this restart underway. It's only a pack of 3, actually. I think not Carlos Frau, sorry. I think Krynos has backed off a little bit, as immediately on it is the number 53 car down into turn 1. I don't think he's quite going to outbrake Joe Godstaitis, who's hungry for his first race win of the season. He's able to keep the restart pretty nicely. The field bunches up, though, as Krynos is already back into the fray, albeit a lap down on the rest of the field. He's going to want to get ahead of everyone as soon as possible. I think it's going to be pittance, though. I don't think it's going to particularly work out for him, as Godstaitis is showing his extreme pace already.
Yeah, Lopez really on the curb and nearly lost the car there and nearly did an Alvarez. Oh, Frau really late on the brakes and he's going to fly off into the chicane. But he's able to keep it out of the tire barriers in the middle of the road. As Lopez just spins ahead, it's all unfolding drama for CMP Corsa. And tell you what, Joe Gostaitis will be super happy to see that.
And crucially, I saw the little gear icon in the top left-hand corner when we were on board with Joe, as the number 7 car is actually trying to unlap himself on the number 53. Is he going to be able to do it, outbraking him into this left-hander? Not quite. The 53 car holds that around the outside. Quite a spectacular defense, actually, but Krynos, the championship leader, is still hungry for that move. He wants to get on with this as quickly as possible. The number 53's spun into the pit lane. And that's going to be a little bit of rear suspension damage, I'd have to imagine. And is that a full course yellow? I'm not too sure.
Is it a full course yellow? Not for the moment. It's still green. It's just a local yellow, which has been left at now as well. And tell you what, Lopez will not be too happy about that in general. Certainly, he nearly did the famous BMW from the Nordschleife. Was it last year? Or 2019 when he went into the pit entry barrier thingy.
I think it was actually 2018, of course. The qualifying for the Nordschleife 24 hours is today, which I didn't know. I could have sworn it was the Nordschleife 24 hours about 2 weeks ago, but anyway.
No, the race I wouldn't have missed. Can tell you that. I wouldn't be here.
Yes.
I would have been already deprived of sleep somewhere in my flat and suffer from. Anyways,
as is 24-hour racing, I suppose, especially at a track as tough as that one. But anyway, we've got racing here to focus on, as this is Carlos Frau, who started from the pit lane, is up to P4. Of course, don't let that deceive you. The number 7 car is a lap down.
Is it P4 or P2? I think it's P2, right?
Oh, yes, of course, because the number 53 would be P4 now.
Yeah.
P3, sorry. As they're waiting for them to cross the line, as it is Godstaitis, Frau, and Lopez. And I think there's going to be question marks to whether Godstaitis can get it to the end of this race. As I think he'll be pretty calm in that driver's seat. Of course, he'll have all the answers that we do not. He hasn't got the fastest lap of the race, however. That goes... Oh dear, rare mistake. I was going to mention P2's got the fastest lap of the race, 1:12.068. That's 0.3 faster than Joe Godstaitis. Is he perhaps showing that extra pace in this second stint? And is he going to be able to charge? Is this the number 7 car trying to unlap himself from the rest of the field now? That's Jesus Krynos. He's getting a bit close for comfort. Bump drafting the race leader. And this could get a little bit aggressive for someone unlapping himself. And, well, we've seen plenty of issues with back markers in racing as Joe Godstaitis, that top left-hand corner showing the gear indicator. This could perhaps be the unravelling of his race. It's a little bit squirrely on the exit for the number 7 car. Is Joe going to go into the pits? I don't think he is, as this could be crucial. Is he able to get it to the end of this race in that number 99 car? He would be bitterly disappointed if he wasn't quite able to get that car to the end. And, well, Krynos still a lap down, looking to make that move to try and just use the next 15 laps to get himself in the lead. You have to feel that Joe's just kind of backing off a little bit on purpose to try and save that extra bit of fuel he needs to get to the end of this race.
Absolutely. Pablo Lopez just been into the pits, I think, judged by the gap. But yeah, you're absolutely right. Carlos Frau is now closing up to Gasteides as well. Quite a lot, especially into the chicane. These guys are so much more aggressive behind him than Gasteides himself. He's just trying to brake a little bit earlier. Let's try to save a little bit of fuel here and there. And look at Chiros. He's so eager. The body language clearly shows he wants to get past, but he's not been able to yet at this point. And of course, being a lap down, we are a European league after all. And some drivers, of course, also, although blue flags are not as strict as here in NASCAR as would have been in another series, but oh, look at that braking of Chinos right behind. As Carlos Frau just spins it. Commentator's curse strikes again, and I'm afraid that's another full course yellow. And Chinos will absolutely be mad at if that's going to be a full course yellow. Because he'll be stuck. Sorry, go ahead.
Sorry, I think now if... is it a full course yellow? Because it's saying
No,
number
it's
3.
not.
It's not a full course yellow, so that's definitely... Well, it's opening an opportunity for Gasteides to perhaps pit and then chase down Carlos Frau as he still can't get away past. Can Kronos? I think Joe's just going to let him go here, as he does. And that's quite sensible driving from the American, who realises that we're not going to be battling. It's a 1 minute 11 gap that he's got now, which is, of course, about a lap around here. So I think he just understands that it's about time he just let him through. And this is crucial now. Now all Kronos has to do is hope for another full course yellow, and he'll be right back in the fray towards the end of this race.
Absolutely. Never can rule out what's going to happen. We saw how easy it is to spin out from Lopez, from Frau. If they are just going to do it at a very close time, they don't have to do it at the same time, but close together. Like, let's say Frau spins in one corner, Lopez spins corner after, and we're going to have another full course yellow. That will bring everyone right into the mix. And it as look good as Gasteides looks on track, it's not over at this point.
Of course, we still don't know how fuel strategy is playing out. Of course, lap 18 was the pit, where there's a pit lap for Joe Gasteides, the race leader, and whether he's fueled to the end, we simply cannot tell you at this stage. He looks to be going visibly slow. 1:14.7 with his previous lap. That's 2 seconds slower than his best lap. Perhaps he's just saving fuel a little bit, trying to get to the end of this race. He's got a 12-second gap to do so. Is that the number 7 car? There's a puff of smoke, a block up, I imagine. As now he's actually having a move. He's now having a move on the number 53. Is the number 7? That's for a podium.
Is it? Yeah. Okay. Sorry, I thought AMS just crashed, but it's fine. I mean, yes, you're right. That's a full-on fight for position. And see, Chinos unlapped himself and already made a place. Absolutely perfect timing for him. As Lopez was just spinning ahead out of turn 1, 2, 3, 4, I think that is. And yeah, imagine Gus is being caught up in that. That would be horrifying news for him.
Light work for the championship leader. That was on the number 53 car, who's now going to see blue flags waved for the race leader. Though I think Joe's going to be content on kind of staying behind this field. Let them punch the hole in the air. Let them do all of the heavy work. And, he's had to be let through there anyway from a little bit of a mistake on the number 53. But if Joe's able to get into the slipstream, he can kind of just clutch and coast a little bit into some of the corners, maybe do a little bit of lifting and coasting, short shifting. That will let him save possibly enough fuel to get to the end of this race. And I haven't quite got the data for his previous lap, but I do know he's faster than Carlos Frau.
Yeah, definitely. I think over a second faster from what I see. You, Lopez nearly lost again, but I think he kept it straight. Yeah, he did. Good save from him. But yeah, I'm not entirely sure if Joe Gasteides is not like trying to force Frau into the pit as well, and just actually tries to, perhaps planning with another pit stop at the very end.
We simply don't know about fuel unless that little line. It's a guessing game, really. It's on lap 33 of 5. He'll cross the line now to make it 12 laps to go, I believe. And, he's done all of the hard work as Joe Gasteides, and he's just got to get it to the end of the race now without a challenge from Carlos Frau. It hasn't been a particularly great challenge from any of the drivers today for Gasteides. He's not actually been overtaken at all in this race, if I'm correct. And, it's been a dominant drive, but it's not a drive that's over just yet, as he's got a slight challenge from this man, albeit 12 seconds behind. It's a challenge nonetheless. Very, very squirrely indeed. And a nice little save from Carlos Frau.
I think I was into the wall. I'm not entirely sure, but I think it's just slight touch on the barrier to the right-hand side. But I think Frau doesn't care too much at this point. He's perhaps just hoping for another full course yellow to go into the pits, get the car repaired, and then have a good go. But unless Jogos Titus makes another pit stop or messes up completely, which I certainly wouldn't, take for given. I think that's pretty much his P2 settled. To put it a little bit subtle, of course we said it's never over, and you never know what happens. As Murray Walker always said, you never know what happens, and everything will happen. Kind of like that. But yeah, it's gonna be a tough challenge to call back up on himself in 11 laps time for Carlos Frau.
Well, it is never over until the fat lady sings, as they say. It's quite a big cliche, but I think it's an appropriate cliche here, as seen how difficult it has been for some of the drivers to keep this car on the track, and it would. Well, I imagine it's pretty. It's pretty grim, the hopes for Frau to win this race, but I have seen crazy things happen in sim racing.
Yeah, that's true. Crazy things can always happen. Let's see what's Joe up to. Has Lopez caught back up to him? Wait, I'm sorry, I'm confused. Have you was Lopez ahead of Gus Titus, or was he behind him? No, he was behind him, right? After the mistake into turn 1. Yeah, sure. Oh, that's a pit stop for Gus Titus, definitely. He's diving into the pits. We said it and we called it, and that's gonna make it. Oh, Lopez into the wall. Is that another full course yellow? He spins on the straight. It's a local yellow, and that would be a perfect chance for Jogos Titus to make a free pit stop, but it's not a full course yellow. You're going to stay with a local yellow for the moment. So let's see how
that 17 cars, I apologise to cut you off there, goes through to the race lead. That is crucial. That completely changes the complexion of this race. And as you can see, he hasn't emerged from the pits, has Gustitis, just yet. This is crucial. Gustitis has got over a 16-second gap now. This could be the race lead out of the window. All he can do is hope for a full course yellow. That's bitterly disappointing for the American, who's looked so good all race, all weekend. And, well, he's not quite able to make this one. He's got, 9 laps to make up a 22-second gap. It would have to be a lot of pushing from the American. As I said, crazier things have happened.
Have you any chance on live races to track where exactly these guys have made their pit stops?
Unfortunately, live races has been crashing. I've been getting about 2 minutes of information every 5 minutes.
Oh, it's better than just one. Okay.
Yes, well, I suppose so. As we can wait to hear. If I'm correct, Frau will be able to get to the end. As we said, he pit under that previous full course yellow. As I said at the time, Gustitis should have pit under that full course yellow to the end, but I think he was a bit more confident than he should have been. 21 seconds that gap now, though. It's come down a second over the previous lap, and I don't think it's going to be enough. As we said, bitter disappointment for Gustitis, who's looked so good, and his first win has evaded him for a second week in a row.
Yeah, Jogos Titus is just not able to win a race, apparently. But I'm not entirely sure if Carlos Frau can make it to the end either. He was really blasting the fuel out at the beginning after the last full course yellow. It was about a second faster per lap than Gustitis ahead, but wasn't able to profit from it as he kept doing too many mistakes. So also we saw him spinning in the last corner, rear end into the barrier. So he definitely has some aero damage, and he's done some mistakes before. So we don't know entirely yet if that's completely. Oh, there's the spin! I just called it! Can you believe it? Carlos Frau from the lead. I don't think he's going to lose the lead, but that's really going to hurt him so much. And Jogos Titus will be livid to see he's been catching up like 10 seconds, perhaps. And Frau goes into the pits.
to the win. The pendulum has swung once again. There's so much in racing. There are so many variables, and Joe Gorstitis will be absolutely ecstatic. He comes through to take the race lead again in the pits, and Frau just didn't have enough. That's bitter disappointment for Frau as well, who thought for a second he could get the race win. And Gorstitis looks like he's right back into the picture now, and I'd be very, very shocked in the next 8 laps or so if he isn't able to pick up this race win.
Tell you what, just 5 people on, we have a better show than we ever had in the oval races. Guys, everyone who's just watching, take notes. That's how you do it, and that's why you should be here as well, to bring on even a better show. But anyways, yeah, it's absolutely insane what just happened in the last 3 laps. I didn't expect Carlos Frau to pit again, but then again, as I said, I wasn't entirely sure if he would have made it to the end. And as we see, Jesus Giros in 3rd. Sorry, go ahead.
Well, the last stint for Gorstitis was exactly 18 laps, and his first stint was exactly 18 laps. So it appears that 18 laps was very much how far you can go. Of course, Frau pit with less than 18 laps to go, which says to me that perhaps that was a pit stop for purely tyres. We've seen him spin quite a lot, take a lot out of those tyres. So perhaps he was concerned about a puncture or just the flat spots. Well, it was
focus yellow. No, sorry, just local yellow. What has
local yellow
happened
indeed.
Oh, there's another one flying off. Is that Gorstitis? Yes, it is. Into turn 1, he just flying off, locking up the fronts, and just made a huge error, but he kept it clean, I think. And what is going on, guys? Can you please tell me what are you doing there? This is crazy.
What an incredible race we've had. I do apologise, I missed that. My dinner was delivered to my door, so I had to quickly pick that up. But,
can you deliver some to my door as well?
Well, I delivered to my door. My dad just brought it in. But anyway, Gorstitis looks so good, and he's got about 6 laps to keep it on the road. And I think there'll be a little bit of a wry smile cracked behind that visor. Well, the figurative visor, anyway. We are in sim racing. But here we are then. The race seems to be pretty much signed, sealed, and delivered for Joe Gorstitis. Not quite yet, though. We could have a full course yellow that would leave a sprint to the end. And, this race has almost been an hour long, and an hour of driving, an hour of masterclass from Joe Gorstitis. It looked like it could perhaps be falling away from him at one stage, but as long as he keeps it on the road now, it would take a massive effort from Frau to win from here.
Absolutely correct, and I hope we can drag him in for some interview afterwards. It's going to be a very interesting one. He just made one minor mistake in that particular corner we are approaching now beforehand, but that aside, and of course the lockup into turn 1, last lap it was. But that aside, with 4.5 laps to go, I think. No, sorry, 5.5 laps to go. Can already be proud of himself. Of course, never celebrate too early, but his driving has been quite telling today. Let's put it like this.
And of course, don't go anywhere after this race, as we'll be going to a short break after our interviews before official practice gets underway for the GT Asia Championship. That will be on later this evening, about an hour's time until qualifying starts there. And, hopefully it will be able to deliver the same as this race has. And Joe coming up to lap the number 53 car once again. The number 53 car has had such a torrid time out there today. Of course, he would have been last if it wasn't for the unfortunate retirement of Manuel Alvarez, who also was someone who had such a good run straight away and wasn't quite able to materialise into any points. As it's Gorstitis, Frau, Krynos, and Lopez, your finishers so far, with 4 laps to go, if I'm not mistaken. 5 laps to go, I apologise. As here we go then. Gorstitis will feel like he's done everything he needed to do today, which he has. He's got a 25-second gap to the car behind, a 30-second gap now, actually, according to live races. It's been a dominant drive. That would be putting it lightly. And he can almost see that checkered flag now.
Yeah, absolutely. It's been a dominant drive. And it's certainly going to help his reputation, not reputation, his self-esteem, to finally win a race. He's been denied by not even a car length at Daytona 250, of course, the big one. You always want to win it, especially if you're American. But he was delivering a good drive there as well. He had a good drive last weekend out, but was caught out by very, very odd circumstances after Foucault's yellow has struck him again. And now he's finally on his way to win once again. Oh, finally, for the first time, I shall say, here at Watkins Glen with 3 laps to go, we believe.
And, well, he is someone who's never quite able to convert pole into the win. I hate to bring up other leagues, but I am going to. He got pole position in both of the SRL oval races late last year, wasn't able to convert them into a win. And, well, this seems that win that has long evaded him is now coming home for Joe Gostaitis, the local driver, the homegrown talent, you could say. He's, as we said, he's accomplished in R-Factor 2 endurance racing. Got his start late last season in the American race on one particular league. And, well, since then, his racing career has spiraled upwards. And, well, reverse spiraled, I suppose. And, well, today could be the day that he redeems himself for all of those lost moments, all of those races that have just slipped away from him, as he said, less than a car length at Daytona. Well, I think he'll be definitely pleased with this drive, even if there's only 5 people in the race. It's still championship points, and championship points that could mean a lot towards the end of this season.
I hate to break it to you, but he actually converted pole in the GT4 Cup in I think race 3, where he just made his debut and, of course, got massive advantage by the BOP. But nevertheless, it was a good drive from him at the Virginia International Speedway as well. So once again on home soil. But he won the race from pole there as well. So
Oh, wow.
he's no stranger to. Sorry.
Maybe his second.
Yeah,
position,
definitely. But it was just this year, so yeah, it was quite recent.
I suppose you could say in the larger series, the more difficult cars to drive, as GT4 cars have quite a few assists, if I'm not mistaken. I've been driven them a few times in the past. But he goes to start his penultimate lap of the race. And, well, it's about 2 minutes now before he comes across the line to see that checkered flag.
Girios, by the way, just made a pit stop last lap, and he just came barely ahead of Lopez back on track. And of course, Lopez with the massively old tires and everything, no chance. But it could have been close in between them for P3, and which is of course, both of them a lap down, which could have been very, very important for. Or it was actually very important for Chinos to stay ahead. But I think he's just gonna have a good run the last 3 laps on fresh tires and end his suffering. It was not in for a P2 or shot onto P2 anyway, so yeah, instead of suffering through, he just went for the pits once again, I assume.
And if we're going to talk about, I suppose, the race win evading Joe Gostaitis, I suppose we could bring up his NASCAR career specifically. He's never quite been able to convert that pole into a win in NASCAR specifically, as we know this season he...
Okay, fair enough.
So we'll save the stat there, as second and fifth, his previous 2 results in this series, didn't race in round 2 at California Speedway. And, well, he's got his own wiki page on the RACE9.eu wiki, so he's definitely an achieved driver in that respect. As well, I can see here, GT4 Cup, it says he's got 0 race wins, which I think must be incorrect.
Huh. Oh yeah, I think sorry, that's on me. I didn't update his page. It has been quite a few busy weeks for me, so sorry about that. But I'll come to that at some point. If you go to the GT4 Cup page, you're certainly going to see the final results and a 1 at the Virginia International Raceway for Joe Gostaitis. As he is, by the way, in the last lap and just let Chinos back through to unlap himself. But I don't think Gostaitis will care too much about that.
And I think we can forgive you, of course, everyone racing here without charge completely. So everyone's getting a pretty good deal, I suppose. A lot of fun racing for no cost as he's coming around the final few corners now. And he's never quite been able to win in NASCAR, but he does now. I suppose you could say it's kind of redemption day in this series for Joe Godstitis, who crosses the line, sees the checkered flag, and he has won a dominant drive from the American. It looks slightly in doubt with about 8 laps to go, but he managed to get back through, fight back through the field, and he has won.
Yeah, we say, yeah, absolutely right. Sorry, back to Joe Godstitis. He had such a dominant drive, just 2 minor errors, and I think he just binned it into the wall. As we see, Carlos Frau crossing the line in second, and Pablo Lopez, Pablo Lopez in fourth. He was a lap down, so he's secured his position. And we're now just waiting for Jesus Chinos, the championship leader, to complete his final lap, and after that, we are done for the moment, and we'll jump to the interviews shortly after.
And of course, it'll be interesting to hear from Joe about the pit stop strategies, because of course he seemed to get it all wrong there. It says 46 of 45 on the timing screen there, but Kronos hasn't quite finished yet. He's got a couple corners to go. In fact, I think he's rounding the final corner now, and he does cross the line, and he does get third position. It's a podium, probably not the most impressive podium of his career, as he does make it, well, 6 from 6 podiums. Does Kronos. Podium in every race this season. Although I suppose the speedways don't have podiums, if we're being technical about it. But
Yes.
top 3 finish, I suppose you could say.
So I've got word from Carlos Frau actually that he's not up for interviews, which is a shame, but okay, we're gonna respect that.
Let's see if I can get Joe into an interview.
I just wrote him. Let's see. I think he's just out on track celebrating, isn't he? Yes, he is. And
he deserves it for sure. I think we've missed his donuts, which is quite disappointing.
I'm gonna jump to the replay and see if he made any. So much for that. Surely, if he did some, we're gonna show them. That has to be done. Okay, he didn't do any of them. Okay, cool. Joe, that's a chance missed, unfortunately. So not a perfect win after all. No, I'm just joking. Of course, it was a good drive, as we said before, as the server just reset the weekend. So we gonna see the loading screen very quickly, and hopefully AMS didn't crash. No, it did not. Perfect. That's unusual, but we take it.
Of course, do not go anywhere. Not only have we got interviews coming up for you, but in about 45 minutes time, we've got the GT Asia Championship coming up for you, and that's going to be a spectacular race. Those cars are faster than these cars, I believe. That's GT3 and GT300. And, well, last time I commentated on GT Asia, it was a spectacular race. And, well, I'm sure we'll be seeing that again this evening. And I've got word from Joe on whether he'll do an interview or not. He does want an interview, so I think drag him in if we can.
I
don't have permission to do so.
Yeah, sorry. But here he is.
So, Joe, long time no speak, I suppose.
Yeah, I guess so. Say that.
So, congratulations on a dominant drive. It looks a little bit difficult there towards the end of the race. It didn't look like you were going to win with your extra pit stop. What did you find about the fuel here? Because you weren't quite able to go all the way to the end after your first pit stop.
No, that was the strategy from the start, just to go long the first 2 and then take a short 10-lap run to the end, hopefully with fresher tires, and I guess that worked out pretty well, as you could see.
So I hope you haven't used up all your luck heading into next week when you're racing for me again. But, well, it was a very good drive from you today, nonetheless. So very well done on that. It wasn't all easy. You had to manage a few safety car restarts. How are they in this series? Because, of course, your tyres get very cold. Do you find them quite simple in terms of the restarts?
Well, yeah, for me, it's just holding speed, making sure no one checks up in front of you, and then going as soon as it says green, and making sure you don't pass anyone before the line. That's really it. When you're from the lead, it's pretty simple because you get to dictate everything, but when you're behind, you just got to pay attention.
So thank you very much, and go and enjoy your race win. Everyone's a little bit disappointed you didn't do donuts, but I'm sure just saving the tyres, I suppose. They've clearly served you well.
Yeah, I got a couple in at turn 11. Of course, the story there, if you don't know, of course, Watkins Glen's the one track that I always go to every year, and that's the place where I stay. So I always make sure whenever I win here in the sim to go over there and do my burnouts there.
Quite a nice story indeed, and of course, it's your first win of the season, and I suppose you're looking to keep it going ahead of next week, where we will be going to Talladega, sorry.
Hopefully, I can do something similar to what we did in the 500 with me and Richard, or at least try and get somewhere up in the front, hopefully ahead of Jesus, so that way we can take a dub again and hopefully get more points back.
So thank you very much for joining us in the commentary box, Joe, and enjoy your win.
Yeah, thank you.
Right. And we also got Jesus Chinos ready. I'm just going to drag him in.
Hello, Jesus. Championship leader in the commentary box. Disappointing day for you, only narrowly finishing on the lead lap. But nonetheless, your championship lead seems quite safe. And, well, you've got a podium to make the loss a little bit sweeter.
Oh yeah, it was a difficult race today. I think that I overshot a lot the car over the circuit. I was too confident that I could brake a little bit late on the chicane, but obviously with cold tires, I think I don't know, I overdrive the car a lot, so that cost me a lot of time and maybe the win. But yeah, I'm happy with the result today. I think that we made what we have to do, and yeah, it's very good.
He seems to be in good standing to take the championship at the end of this series. Do you think that after your pace in these early rounds, of course you haven't finished off the podium in all of your races, do you think that you can definitely pick up the championship win in this series?
Well, obviously we still have half of the rounds to half of the championship to go. The first half was very good. I think I did a good job of right there, getting on the podium in all the races. But yeah, the second half we have to see how everything is going because we have the next round that is Talladega. It's a complete lottery. Everything can happen. We cannot afford retirement or crashes, anything that can make us lose points. So I think that we can make this. We can do it, but we have to be careful. We don't have to celebrate yet. We have to wait until the last round. I mean, until we have the last point. We need to achieve that.
I've got a question as well about today. I'm trying to formulate as safe as possible without trying to insult you, because I think the pain is quite real. But compared to, for example, Kota, your performance, you clearly showed that you had the pace today, but weren't quite able to convert it into a good result. Where do you think you really struggled the most with today?
Well, I think I didn't understood. I didn't understand better the car today. I was a little bit distracted. I'm gonna be honest. I was distracted, so I overdrive the cars in corners. I didn't have to. Yeah, at the end and the second half of the race, I calmed down a little bit and started to be quick, but it was too late. We lost a lot of time. We lost a lot of seconds with the leader. So I thought I really know that I completely lost the race. But yeah, whatever happens later, the podium is still a good result. So yeah, I couldn't capitalize today a good result, or what I wanted, but still I got the point. So yeah, I think it's good for me.
Thank you very much for joining us in the commentary box. And, well, go and enjoy your championship lead, as you've still got it, of course, after that round. It's the race leader is in P5. And, well, we'll see you, hopefully, on the podium in the next race at Talladega.
Okay, thank you. See you there.
So that was the NASCAR race, round 6 of the 2021 NASCAR Championship season here at .RACE9. Of course, if you do want to join us, you can find the Discord server and you can go to race9.eu and you'll be able to see all of the information you need there. But don't go anywhere, as in about 40 minutes' time, we'll be bringing you the spectacular GT Asia Championship on Assetto Corsa. But for now, I've been Tom Dillon, and my co-commentator has been Konstantin. And have you got any final words before we round off this particular race?
It was a blast, despite having the low numbers of racers, and that clearly shows that championship has potential. So make sure to join us in not only GT Asia, but also in the NASCAR Championship. Thank you, Tom.
So I suppose for now, whether we're ending the stream or just going to a splash screen, I couldn't tell you. But all I do know is be here in about 40 minutes' time when we go back to racing here for GT Asia. So for me, it's good night for now, and we'll see you in a little bit.